So the power plant, remember I said it is leased by an energy company from the Port District. And the Port District did a lease with them 10 years ago. And they said, your lease is up and you got to rip that power plant down when these three things happen. You pay off the bonds that you borrowed, that's done. The lease term expires November 2009, that is fast approaching us. And the RMR, remember that special contract is not reissued. And this is one of the things that's an issue right now. Go ahead. So the RMR conditions, that's why I'm teaching all of these things kind of tie together, because in order to get their 2010 contract, they have to get a new water permit. And that also expires this year. So the bottom line is, and they're not allowed to get a new contract if they don't have all their environmental permits on board. So if they don't get their water permit, they can't get their RMR. The third condition of the lease is satisfied, no more Southbay Power Plant. So you can see while we're really, really focused on getting that permit denied. Next one. So what I just said, it expires soon, and we want to get your support and everybody's support to say, look, we don't want them to get another 5-year renewal of this permit, this water permit. Next one. And we're not the only people who said we don't want that. And we have letters here signed by, I can pass this out because it's a really wonderful example of everybody in South Bay kind of coming together to say, we've had enough. We do not want this power plant anymore. When the Otay Mesa power plant goes online, that's going to add almost 600 megawatts of new energy to this region, more efficient than South Bay, and all of these electeds have said, we don't want this permit renewed beyond that. So we're going to be doing a lot of organizing this summer to make that list grow even longer. And that's a copy of the letter that many of them signed on to. Next one. So solutions, so what do we do instead? We want our lights to stay on. Why wouldn't we want to keep the South Bay Power Plant forever? Well, South Bay's getting a new power plant. Maybe even more than one, but you're definitely getting a new baseload Otay Mesa generating station out near the prison. It's not in Chula Vista, but it's in South Bay. So that will be coming online very soon. There are also alternatives for how we meet our future energy needs. The best way is to improve our energy efficiency. The cheapest megawatt or cheapest watt you can build is the one you don't use. So if you upgrade your air conditioner to a more efficient air conditioner, you close the gaps in your windows, you do a lot of things to make your home more efficient, that can really reduce the amount of energy that we need in the future. Next one. We can also promote solar power on panels, on rooftops, on parking lots. And here are just some of the examples where Hewlett-Packard, the US Navy, the Port of Oakland, City of San Diego, those all have very large rooftop solar projects that are either online or coming online. This idea of the parking lot cover, you can see that in this case, they've got a lot of panels shading the cars in the parking lot and powering part of the company next door. So every time you see a big rooftop or even a small rooftop that's facing south or a parking lot, that is a potential place to put energy generation in the form of solar.
In Chula Vista, if you just talk about the city property, not private property, we have 1 million square feet of roof space and 1.4 million square feet of parking lot space. That's just the city property. That's not counting all the businesses and residents.
So we have a lot of underdeveloped, we have a great indigenous resource here, the sun. And we have a lot of potential to use it and to run our county. And we haven't maximized that at all, and we should. Excellent. The other thing we could do is something called small distributed generation. There's kind of two concepts in how you power a region. You either build like a couple giant transmission lines, a couple giant decentralized or centralized plants like the Southbay Power Plant or the Otay Mesa plant, or you can, so that's kind of a centralized way that you run an area or power your energy grid. But the problem with that is if you lose one of those things, lots of people go out without power. Another way to do it is, it's called distributed generation. You distribute smaller generation types of unit all around your county so that you put the energy close to where the use is. So in this case, like Qualcomm, a big company, uses lots of energy. They have a big solar system and they have a small gas-fired plant. It's highly efficient, very small, and they use it for their operations. The Sheraton Hotel, they have something called a fuel cell. It's on their tennis court. It's a very small, it's almost zero emission, and it runs 70% of all the hotel's needs. So they're using very, very little energy off the grid, and they have provided for their own. So there are many alternatives of what we can do. Next one. So the next important dates coming up. The water permit expires in November. Their air permits expire in March of next year. The elements could expire in 2009 unless they get this RMR contract. The RMR contract will be voted on in October. It's coming up. And, you know, some of the things we want to get are some more sustainable actions. Next one. So these are the kind of the roadmap for change. We think action has to happen on all of these fronts, but what we're focused on tonight is the defeat of the NPDES water permit, and I want to give some time for questions. So I'm just gonna, I think I'm gonna stop there. Let me go to the next one. I'm gonna skip that. Yeah, so what we would like to see today is I'd like to answer any questions, and we're asking people if you'd be willing to sign this postcard so that when the time is right, we're gonna go to the Regional Water Board and present this along with the letters and everything else. And we're hoping that you'd be willing to sign this postcard saying you don't want, once Otay Mesa opens up, we don't want the power plant to have a new 5-year permit to continue to operate. So that's what we're asking for, but I talked fast and that was a lot of stuff, so let's have some questions. Yeah.
What's your opinion of the Southwest Power Link?
The Sunrise Power Link?
Yes.
Yeah. Sunrise, we are opposed to Sunrise. We think it's you know, $2 billion or a gazillion billion dollars, I don't know how much it is now, but it does, it's really, correct, $2 billion project. I've heard as high as 5. And we're very opposed to it because we don't think it brings solar energy to the region. We think it's it's unnecessary, and we think it's actually a mechanism to locate more power plants just south of the border and transmit that energy through to LA. And then we're going to pay for it. You know, it's on the backs of the ratepayers, and we really think it's unnecessary. I mean, there may be a way in the future when we might need that, but we should maximize the things we've got going here locally before we do that. So we're very opposed to the Sunrise Power Link. Chair.
This Otay plant, explain a little bit about it. I know it's air-cooled, how many megawatts?
It's air-cooled. I think it's 560 megawatts. I think they were going to put chillers on it, which could boost it even higher. So, but it's at least a 560 megawatt combined cycle, meaning very efficient, air-cooled plant, and it's located out near well, just I think east of the prisons. And it should be online this fall.
Is it natural gas fired?
It's natural gas fired.
Okay, now my question would be, is that this thing, if it comes online, it costs lots of millions of dollars to build it.
Yep.
If it comes online, it's going to operate daily.
Yep.
I would think. The Southbay Power Plant doesn't operate daily. So have you done any studies to see the difference between this plant operating on a daily operation or the Southbay Power Plant running 3 or 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 days a month as it does? Have you done any studies to that effect to see which one's going to pollute more? I mean, it's possible we get more pollution from that than we can from this one.
Well, first of all, I think the South Bay does operate every day because remember, it has to be ready to go at any point. So some amount of it is operating because it takes 2 days to turn the thing on. So at some level, it operates all the time. That's what I've heard.